And I can't speak for every family, but I've even noticed, like, with friends and just different acquaintances, the holidays isn't always like it used to be, where you have that traditional, you get together with your grandparents and your cousins.
But it should be, right? Don't you think it should be?
It should be a time for everyone to get together, but I've noticed it's becoming more and more separated.
See, I don't like that. I don't like that. Welcome to the Balancing Act podcast with Team Brooks, where our discussions are centered around family-related topics that are filtered through a simple lens of faith, while also giving you tools that will help every family live a healthy and balanced life. I'm Chris.
And I'm Ashanti.
And we're Team Brooks. So how are you doing today, Miss Team Brooks?
Pretty good. I'm excited to share these new mugs that we got over here.
Awesome. Yeah, we're coming up. We got some Balancing Act mugs. I like it. Very cool. So what are we talking about today? What are we going to talk about?
We are going to talk about navigating the holidays with family.
Wow. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. So we're going to talk about deciding which family to spend the holidays with and just getting through the holidays.
Yeah, that's a tough decision, isn't it? That's things you don't think about when you're getting married, really. When you're getting married and you're dating somebody, you don't really think about, okay, who are we going to spend holidays with? But it's important.
Well, when you're getting serious, when you're dating, you do think about it.
I guess it was just me. I didn't really think about it till it was time.
Well, it was starting to happen already.
Yeah,
Before we got married.
I think our parents were probably thinking of it before we did, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. I know, like, as we were kind of talking about earlier, I know, like, we were talking about our first Christmas together, which was before we were married, and we were trying to figure out, okay, where are we going to go now? We're pretty fortunate. Our family at the time was fairly close. My mom lived about maybe an hour and a half away, and then your parents were here in town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so our first Christmas together, Chris's mother, she asked my parents if they would be willing to give me up for that holiday. Yeah. So I could spend it with Chris. And I guess my parents wanted to,
your parents wanted to what?
What do you think?
They were trying to make sure
I sealed the deal. Yeah.
Sealed the deal.
So they said, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I guess so. It wasn't that. It must have been Christmas Eve or maybe a couple of days before Christmas. But that was when I actually asked your dad if I could marry you.
Oh, that's not really?
Or was it on Christmas? Was it on Christmas? No, it wasn't on Christmas because we were together for Christmas.
I think maybe Christmas Eve.
Yeah, maybe Christmas Eve or something like that. Because, I remember, that was when I asked your dad officially if I could marry. Now, I didn't propose till several months later, but, I'd asked him at that point if I could if I could take your hand in marriage, as they say. That was a pretty good Christmas.
It was.
Yeah, because I know I was really, really nervous.
Really?
I was so nervous about asking your dad because, like, your dad's not a small guy. Now I'm not a small guy either, but I was praying we weren't going to have to wrestle up there.
Wow.
I was praying we weren't going to have to wrestle for your hand in marriage. But it shocked me. He was pretty happy. I felt like he felt like it was a good guy, so I was pretty happy.
Yeah. I didn't know that that was what you were planning on doing. Um, but I wasn't worried about you asking them because I knew that they liked you already.
But we had only been dating at that point for what, 7 months? About you have any qualms or any concerns? I know I was worried. I was thinking they were gonna think I was crazy, like asking for your hand in marriage.
I mean, my parents, right off the bat, usually within the first couple of months, if they notice something, they'll bring it to attention.
So they didn't notice anything, right?
No. You weren't like a fixer upper or anything like that.
I was a pretty solid guy.
You were established. There weren't any red flags or you disappearing or ghosting me or anything like that.
Yeah.
You made it a point to meet them.
True.
In an appropriate way. It wasn't just some random meeting.
Yeah.
And so I think those are things like they really appreciate it,
I think your dad just wanted a son. He's been surrounded by girls for 30 over 30 years.
I don't think he wanted any old son. I don't think he would have just taken JoJo off the street or anything.
I don't think so. I think very highly of your dad. I respect him more than probably most men I've met. So it's a good thing. But getting back to the holidays and everything. So I know, I do kind of remember, as I said, I didn't remember earlier, but you did remind me that of when my mom did ask us to, if we could ask your parents if you could spend the holidays with them.
And that probably was even though it was our first Christmas, that was probably the easiest one.
That was the easiest one. Yeah. That definitely was the easiest one because like you said, they're I think your parents were trying to keep everything on the up and everything like that. And I know my mom was so excited to have you meet the family and everything like that.
Yeah.
So.
And it was a good Christmas.
It was a good Christmas. I really enjoyed it. I know my aunt Charlene is a tough cookie, tough nut to crack. And then of course my uncle he's still mad at me for giving you the lowdown on him. He told me over the summer. He said he's still I owe him because he didn't get to haze you like he did all the other wives or in-laws that were coming into the family.
He could have if he wanted to.
Yeah, but you knew, it's one of those things. If you know what to expect, it's not as fun for him.
Oh, because I played along with his shenanigans.
Yeah, it's the shock factor. If the shock factor's not there,
I mean, he still did some shocking things, but I played along with them. I didn't get mad.
See, that's the thing though. That's the shocking things were not his. Not the most shocking he could have done. That's what's crazy about it. But yeah, but it's all good. But yeah, I remember it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun introducing you to my family. And I think they knew, even like I did, because, I tell the story all the time. I proposed to you on the first date. So I think they kind of knew just by the way we interacted that you were going to be my wife and everything. So what were you thinking when it came time and we were getting close to the holidays, or even when my mom approached us about asking your parents if you could spend the holidays with us? What were you thinking? Because I know at the time you'd only been in Tennessee for what, a year and a half, almost, or 2 years maybe?
Nope, it was a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half. So it's like, what were you thinking when all of a sudden it's like, okay, you meet a guy, and all of a sudden he's wanting you to spend Christmas with them, when you really, at this point, I guess you'd only spend one Christmas with your family since moving to Tennessee.
Yeah, and the prior Christmas I didn't spend with my parents. Now that we're talking about it, yeah, the Christmas.
Where did you spend the prior Christmas?
I spent it with my family in Tennessee, but my parents, they were still in California.
That's right, they were still in California, so it was literally going to be the first Christmas in Tennessee with your parents, and here I am stealing you. I am so sorry, Mom and Dad. I did not think about that the first Christmas, that I was stealing your daughter after your first Christmas moving to Tennessee. What were you thinking?
When you asked me, I mean, I was just thinking, like, I wonder how they're going to take this. Because I was kind of like, they may be okay with it, or they may be like, So, I mean, when I asked them, they said, I think they said, well, we talked about it and we think it's fine.
Were you shocked that they gave in?
Um, I think I was just thinking they wanted me to, kind of get on the good side initially going in because they knew, that our relationship was serious. So they figured, okay, this time around we'll make that
To
exception
make that exception this time
or
around.
sacrifice. I don't know.
Sacrifice, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So they seemed okay. I mean, I think they were like, okay, she met this guy. They really seem into each other. They were hopeful.
Awesome. I don't think,
Were you nervous about asking me that?
No, to be perfectly honest with you, the first Christmas, it did not hit me necessarily about trying to divvy up who we were going to spend Christmas with per se. It hit me more of the second Christmas than it did on the first Christmas. Once we were married, that's when it kind of hit me, and I started thinking about, oh wow, for the rest of our life, we got to figure out where we're gonna. Now we had to figure out where we were gonna spend Christmas and so forth.
Yeah, and I mean, initially we had decided that we would just rotate each holiday. So if we were to spend, for example, Thanksgiving with Chris's family, then we would spend Christmas with my family and so forth. So that was the initial plan.
Yeah, things changed for the, unfortunately, but we'll get into that. But what about, so I know like for me growing up, I grew up, I had several cousins and my grandmother had, 5 children and so forth, living in different parts of the country. And so one of the things for me when it came around Christmas time was who was going to come in for Christmas, who was actually going to be there. And I remember
what about like Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, the same thing. Thanksgiving and Christmas were both kind of lumped in there together a lot. Sometimes I remember like when I was really young, seemed like, and maybe it was just maybe my memory's just not what it. I remember it differently than what it actually was, but it seemed like they sometimes they would actually come in for Christmas, and actually some would actually stay, or not for Christmas, excuse me, but for Thanksgiving. And some would actually stay through Christmas or up to Christmas. But I think that may have been few and far between.
Wow.
Yeah. But
I wouldn't mind that kind of schedule.
I know. But the thing that kind of stands out to me, especially being young, because I was an only child, I didn't have a lot of I didn't have a lot of excuse me. I didn't have a lot of cousins that lived in Tennessee. And so I remember really like thinking, why are they not coming? And just random cousins. Sometimes it was, cousins on, from my Aunt Mabel. Sometimes it was cousins from my Uncle Wayne. And I just remember thinking like, why are they not coming? And I remember, and I'm talking about really young, like maybe 10. So I didn't understand the dynamics of marriage and the dynamics of spending family. I didn't know that. When I wasn't thinking about once you're married, now you have a mother-in-law and a father-in-law, and you have. So I was just thinking, why are you not coming for family? And I remember being upset.
Oh, wow.
I remember really being upset that they weren't coming in to see my family when I was really young. Now, once I got older, I understood, but I remember being upset, and so that weighed heavily on me in the second year. When I was thinking, I remember those times of not seeing family, and I didn't. And so I thought about, for our girl, well, at the time, not our girls, but I was thinking about once we have children, are they going to feel like that, not being able to see certain parts of their family or for Christmas or for Thanksgiving? Did you ever have any concerns like that?
It was a little different for me because, it sounds like, you grew up in like the main hub for where the family got together for the holidays. And for me growing up, we didn't live near our family. My family lived in different states, but the main hub was Tennessee and Florida. And so, living in California, we didn't spend a whole lot of holidays with family. Really? There were some, like every few years or so, we may, come out for Christmas. But so growing up, it really wasn't like a situation of, okay, who are we going to spend the holidays with in terms of family? Um, so for me, it was kind of like when the holidays came around, most of the time I knew, okay, it's going to be the four of us, or, we may have like a family friend that we would get together with and we would spend the holidays with, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to see my cousin or I'm going to see my aunt or uncle, or grandma.
So why wasn't it like that? Why didn't you visit your family or typically visit your family during the holidays?
Usually I think it was really more so like maybe a scheduling. My parents, they both worked full time. So, they would have to get, that time off work and set up travel. So it wasn't, it's not always easy to travel with a family of four. So, they we set up time when we could to spend the holidays with them, but most of the time we didn't travel on the holidays be with family. Now there were some holidays, usually on like for Christmas, my grandmother, she would come around Christmas time. She may not necessarily have been there on Christmas Day, but she had some time off, so she would come and spend a week or two with us. So we always look forward to that, her coming. My grandfather, he did come out sometimes when he could for Thanksgiving. So it wasn't the whole family, but there, we did see some family, depending on what year it was, and got together in that way. So, the holidays, it was, I look forward to it, but it, those traditions, getting with your grandmother and aunts and cousins, that really just wasn't a thing for us. So.
Got you. See, and I guess that's for me where it's hard for me to imagine it being any other way. Because again, like for Christmas growing up for us, it was always about, who's coming, and I guess that's what shocks me now when, I don't want to say shocks me now, but it's still hard for me to grasp now that, my mom has passed. And so many of that generation are now gone. And so our family doesn't typically get together for the holidays anymore.
And I can't speak for every family, but I've even noticed, like, with friends and just different acquaintances, the holidays isn't always like it used to be, where you have that traditional, you get together with your grandparents and your cousins,
but
your
it should
and
be,
your uncle.
Right? Don't you think it should be?
It should be a time for everyone to get together, but I've noticed it's becoming more and more separated.
See, I don't like that. I don't like that.
The tradition is changing. I mean, some people do still get together, but I've, talked to just, different people, whether it be a friend or acquaintance, and it's not that big, giant whole family getting together.
See, that hurts my heart when I think, I don't like that at all. Because it's like, I remember sleeping head to toe in the pull-out bed back in my grandma's basement, my granddad's basement with my cousins. I remember there would be so many of us, there wouldn't be enough beds. And of course you're not going to, you didn't want anybody sleeping in a hotel. So they would make beds. And I remember on the pull-out bed, there would be five or six of us sleeping head to toe almost on that pull-out bed. And then getting up and, grandma had the big Christmas tree upstairs and then the small ceramic tree. Or I think at one time she had a fiber optic tree, but having different trees and having different presents at each of them. I just remember all those traditions and, and the women, and again, it's a different time, not saying that that the women's job was to be upstairs, but I just remember the women would be upstairs and they would be talking and having fun and while they were cooking dinner and so forth. Again, not saying that that's where it has to be, but that's just where it was in my household.
Men outside on the grill on Christmas.
Sometimes we were. A lot of times we were downstairs, watching football. Well, I say men, but I was a young man at the time. But I just remember, and then having the conversations and seeing my family and seeing the men in my family converse and learning things, and that's why I say it's That's why it hurts my heart that things are not like that anymore, because there's so much tradition and rich history in that.
Right. I absolutely agree with you. And I mean, some of the more memorable Christmases that I had growing up were the ones where I was actually, with my, the extended family and just, those moments of where, kind of get together and laughing and talking and just, having a good time together, because you don't always get to see, your extended family throughout the year. So just kind of getting together with them and just fellowshipping and sharing a good meal. Those are fond memories that I had. And I do remember those Christmases. I remember very well the last Christmas that I spent with my grandfather before he passed. I can remember it, like yesterday. Those memories, they stay close to my heart. But I do hope for more memories and somewhat of a resemblance of that for our girls.
Yeah, I pray that we are able to do things like that and and bring families together. Because again, I think that we lose those traditions and we grow apart, and even now, I don't talk to my family as often as I probably should. I definitely have made a commitment, not a commitment, but a promise to myself. I guess that is a commitment, a commitment to myself that I want to spend more time with my family and see my family more. Because I guess, when I think about those memories of growing up in Christmas times and Thanksgivings and everything, it was just, there was so much there. Those are my fondest memories. I think that's why I love Christmas. Maybe that's why I love Christmas so much. I've always loved Christmas. Maybe that's why, because again, being an only child, I knew Christmas time. Wow, I'm gonna get emotional. I knew Christmas time was a time I wasn't gonna be alone. You know what I'm saying? I never thought about that before, but I'm thinking about it now. Like maybe that's because I love, anybody who knows me knows I love it. How many trees do we put up every year in the house?
A lot. 4 to 5 at least.
So yeah, it's like 4 or 5. At one point, I think at the highest it was 6. One of those trees had to get retired. But yeah, I absolutely love Christmas. We start listening to Christmas music, and I start listening to Christmas music in November, beginning of November, and every year it seems like I put decorations up earlier and earlier and so forth. But I think maybe that's why I love Christmas so much, because I knew, again, I knew that those were moments. It wasn't going to be just me and my mom. It was going to be family, and I was going to see extended family. So kind of thinking about those traditions. I mean, so when we did get married, and then we had to really kind of figure out how did we decide that it was going to how did we decide on the switching off between families that we were going to do?
Well, I think it kind of, the year before we were married, we spent that Christmas with your family. So we just kind of build off of that one in terms of where we spent the following Christmas. Because our first Christmas as a married couple, we did spend it with my family. And then the following year, we spent Thanksgiving with my family.
And Christmas again with mine.
Yeah, and the Thanksgiving that we had was my family. Chris will never forget.
Oh yeah!
I don't even know if we can share that on this. I'm going to share it,
sir.
You won't say who. You can just describe. Name, no, you can't even say what relative it is, because it'll be too obvious.
Okay, so I would say.
Let's not get into that just yet.
We can't get into that yet.
Because I'm not done. I'm still got my spill. So we spent the first year we spent Christmas with my family.
I'm sorry.
And then the following year,
that's all I can think about now. Sorry, go ahead.
We spent Thanksgiving with my family, and that was, that was the first time that Chris actually traveled to my grandmother's home. And we spent Thanksgiving there. So that was his first Thanksgiving with my family, because the prior year, Chris was, I think he wasn't feeling well. We have a history of somebody not feeling well on Thanksgiving, whether it be Chris, the girls, I don't know. It's just something about Thanksgiving. But anyway, so.
Probably the weather changing.
Yeah. So So, and then that year, our second year of marriage, we spent Christmas with Chris's family, but we spent Christmas Eve it was a combo Christmas Eve. I think you worked Christmas Eve. So I spent Christmas Eve, which is also Chris's mother's birthday. I spent it with her and my mom, and we took her out to lunch and we went to church, and Chris, he came home later on that night, but it was fun. We had a very good time.
I'm trying to think. Was that the last Christmas with my mom before she passed? Mm-hmm. Wow. That's so. I didn't think about that. Was.
So we spent Christmas Eve with Chris's mother and my mother, and we went out for her birthday and celebrated. And then the next day, Chris's mother, she spent the night at our home. So the next day we spent Christmas morning at our home, and then we traveled to Chris's hometown and spent Christmas with his whole family.
Yeah, I just realized how much of a blessing that was. I guess that just goes to show you, because like I said, I never thought that Christmas would be my last Christmas with my mom. So you just never know. So, I mean, I think that even lends itself more to say why you should spend Christmas as a family. Why you should come together for Christmas and so forth, or come together for holidays, because you just never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really don't. And I mean, that's what happened, in terms of my grandfather. We spent his last Christmas together as a family. And that following year, he passed away, and we had no idea that was going to be his last. But It was a blessing that we were able to come here and spend it with him, because we typically, we didn't consistently come out every year. So,
wow.
I understand.
That's amazing. So how do you make time for that? So if you're like you just said, growing up like you just said, in your family, a lot of times due to work schedules and so forth like that, you didn't necessarily get to spend time as a family. Extended family. Mm-hmm. Well, I say extended, but I just like to think of as family. I
don't want people to think I was alone in a room by myself, but I was with my immediate family.
Yeah. You were with your immediate family. So how do you feel? How do you not deal with that, but should it be something that's a priority? Should being together with your family during holidays, should that be a priority to the point I've had people, when I was a manager for Kroger, that they would come in and literally tell us, hey, I'd love for you to hire me, but I just want you to know that during Christmas time, I've got to go because spending time with my family is a non-option. Mm-hmm. Should it be that serious?
Well, I will tell you guys all the truth. Some things about me when it comes to the holidays. When I was younger, I worked in retail when I was in college, and they did want me to work holidays.
Were you the one?
I always found a way to get out of it.
Were you the one? Man, the kids like you used to get on my nerves.
No, you don't even know what I was going to say.
You always found a way to get out of working.
So there were a couple different instances. When I worked in retail, I didn't have to work Christmas because the store was closed. Mm. But there were a couple. No, I did work holidays, but the big ones, there were a couple, like Thanksgiving. Okay, we were closed. The day after Thanksgiving, no big deal. Okay, I could come in the afternoon. But when it came to Christmas, mind you, by the time I was in college, we were traveling a little more to see family. So I needed to travel. Mm-hmm. So you can't just, pull off the day. I need the week. So, I would ask, and, sometimes, they would grant it to me. I told them the situation, and sometimes, for whatever reason, they didn't want to grant it to me. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be off.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, you were the bane of my existence as a manager sometimes.
I'm like, okay, it's Christmas. Everybody else, I know, you probably think I'm messed up, but I needed to be with my family.
Yeah, see, now I can say, yeah, that's cool. Back then, it used to, oh my gosh, when people would call out on holidays.
But mind you, I didn't do it all the time. I worked the majority of those holidays. I worked, but when it was Christmas time, and it wasn't a lot of them, but there were a couple where I needed to travel to be with my family, and even if I told them in advance for whatever reason, I had to make it happen.
I think for me, I was if they were under 18, I was cool with it. I was like, okay, you go ahead, do your thing, because you live in your parents' house, do your thing. I can't tell you not to go. But I won't lie to you, and don't get mad at me, y'all. But there were a few conversations with 19, 20-year-olds, and they would say, hey, well, my mom's making me go. And oh my gosh, I would look at them like, how old are you? Your mom is making you go? And I know that now I can look back and I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done it. But all I could think about was the thousands of customers that were going to be coming through there and the people that were not going to be working. And it was just like, all I could think of was just how much trouble and how much more work it was going to put on the rest of us.
And you know what I look at it as? I look at it as maybe companies should take a second look and say, you know what? We should be closed. Let's put family ahead of business for a couple of days.
I agree 100% with you. I mean, that was one thing when I became a manager and got into corporate, and I looked at how much money we actually got for the day. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, to me, and I don't know, it wasn't worth it for me.
Yeah.
It was not worth that, as far as how much money we got for the day versus how much we had to spend in employee costs, how much we had to spend in overtime because we were a union store. So holidays were mandatory overtime. Mm-hmm. When you factored all that in, the margin was not a great margin. It wasn't like a Black Friday. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that great a margin. When you looked at the end of the year, no, I don't remember ever looking at the end of the year and looking at our margin or looking at our EBITDA and saying, man, if we would have just got a little bit more money on Christmas Eve or a little bit more money on Thanksgiving. That was the one that really got me, because like Thanksgiving was like no money. I mean, it was you would be busy in the morning, but you just the day as a whole would not be anything. Mm-hmm. And so to be open that day, I just never understood why we were open and why, because again, the margins just weren't there.
Right. Yeah. And then, in my experience, like, when I was in college, I worked in retail, as an adult after college, I've been working in the corporate environment, and the companies that I have worked for, they like to be open on Christmas Eve and Thanksgiving Eve. And those are the two holidays where it's always a challenge with scheduling people's time off for vacations, because a lot of people, they want to be with their family. They want that time off. And so, it's like you're forced in a situation where, like if you're on a team, sometimes the managers like put the employees against each other in a sense, because everybody's requesting for these days off because we have the day, but the day before, people typically want to take that off too. And so they're like, okay, we have too many people requesting this. Okay, you guys, let's figure this out amongst yourselves. Mm-hmm. So you're getting together with your teammates, and, people are trying to like plead their stories, like which story or reason for why they need off is better. And then eventually, it's like, okay, who was off last year? Who wasn't? Whoever wasn't off last year, okay, they should have first priority. But it's like, well, everybody has a family. So
right.
I don't find why it's so hard to be closed the eve of Christmas and Thanksgiving.
I tell you what got me. This
Don't you agree?
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Because like, I tell you what got me, right, was for years and years, since I started at the company at 16 up until I want to say maybe 10, 15 years into it. Because I left at 20 after 22 years. So it had to be around 12 years. After 12 years being with the company, 12, 13. All of a sudden on Thanksgiving, we had always closed at 3 p.m. on Thanksgiving. And all of a sudden they moved it to 6 p.m. I never understood that concept because like you heard me just talk about the margins. The margin from 3 to 6 was 0. I don't care what you were. I don't care what store you were in. From 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., that store was spending more money on the staff that was there than they were making money on the people coming in. It just was not happening. Now I understand people are going to look at it from, oh well, goodwill. People are going to love the store. They're going to pay you back.
I'm sorry, Thanksgiving Eve or Thanksgiving Day?
Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, Thanksgiving Day, literally, we used to always close at 3 p.m. And anybody who worked for, I've said the company before, I'm not going to say it this time, but anybody who worked for there or probably any retail was probably identifying like, yeah, I remember that. But like we used to always close at 3 p.m. And all of a sudden one year they decided they were going to stay open until 6 p.m. There was no, again, but when you looked at the gross profit of that time, of that period of the gross profit, you can't tell me that we were not spending more on labor than we were on what we're actually making. So I never understood it. And again, I know all the stories that, I can hear, the corporate people right now probably saying, well, you're getting goodwill and people know that they can come to the store and maybe next year you'll get more people. And then, what about that person who needs something at the last minute? Well, what about them? What about the checker that's still there and not going to get to spend time with their family?
I mean, 6 o'clock. I mean, 3 is kind of, I would say like, if you're going to be open, close at least by 12.
Right. That was my thing because that was the day. That was the time people.
For dinner.
Right. That was the time.
Time for dinner. At least pop up for an hour or two.
That was the time. 12 o'clock was when it would become a ghost town.
Yeah, because by 12 o'clock, most people have already started cooking. They've come in the morning. Okay, then maybe if you need a few extra eggs or what have you, or maybe.
Oh my gosh, the macaroni is going to be ruined because I don't have the right spice for the macaroni.
You know what I'm saying? But by 12 p.m., you already have what you need to make for your Thanksgiving dinner. It's just not going to be made if they're thinking for the customer.
Heck, exactly. I mean, so what? Make it a memorable. Look at it this way. By not being open and they can't get the spice they want, you're making a memorable Christmas for them because they're going to remember that Christmas that they couldn't get the spice they needed or was messed up. Some of the best Christmases I remember was our family laughing at my grandma's lotto pies because they always came out different. And
when things aren't perfect, that's when you have the best memory.
Exactly.
When you go on a trip and everything goes perfect, do you really remember that trip?
No, you don't.
When you have some crazy story with a waitress or a tour guide or something, you remember that.
How do we get on? I'm trying to remember. Because we were talking about spices. That's right. Yeah. People needing certain foods to like finish their Christmas meals, and that's why the store stayed open anyway. So I'm gonna get off of that soapbox. I can go down a rabbit hole with that one. But I do want to talk about my and you've heard me talk about this before. My grandma's lotto pies. So do you remember what my grandma's lotto pies were? I know you probably never got to experience because my grandma was passed before we met. But do you remember me talking about what they were? The pecan pies.
Why are you calling them lotto?
Because
it's like it
was going to be it was going to be random whether they were good or not. And I remember growing up, like probably from 15 to maybe even 30, I never knew what a lotto pie. I never knew I always thought it was something really called a lotto pie.
Did your uncle coin that?
I think he did. I think he did. Between him and my uncle, between Uncle Keith and Uncle Wayne, one of them coined it. Because I never knew. I'd heard them talk about it, but I never knew what it was called. I never knew. I always thought it was a lotto pie. And then one day, I remember I finally asked. I said, which one's a lotto pie? And everybody laughed. I was in my 30s, I think, when I asked. And everybody laughed at me because I did not know that lotto pies were the pecan pies that you just never knew how it was going to come out.
The coin.
Yeah. So that was, again, another memory that if you're not gathering with your family, you're not going to have. You know? So I think we have come to the conclusion that the reason families are no longer getting together is because of corporate America. Big dollar.
I don't know. I don't know if we put it all in corporate America.
You don't want to go there? I'll go there. I think it's corporate America. I'm just joking. I think, but I think that has some, even if it's not the reason, I think it does have something to do with it. Because I agree with you. I think a lot of the reason why people don't do that now is because you have, heck, Black Friday starts the day before Thanksgiving. Heck, we're in Black Friday now, and some
Black Friday been going on since November 1st.
I know. How can how if everybody is trying to get that dollar? So now they're starting to take
away the time of, not saying Black Friday is a holiday, but those memories, because you used to, not saying I want to get up early and go out there, but now is Black Friday through November. So is it really a special day anymore? Yeah,
I don't think anything is special anymore. I think the only thing that's special is the dollar. So we talk. So now I'm gonna tie in spiritually, because we were talking earlier. Like, I don't know how we're going to tie anything spiritual. I'm gonna tie in something spiritual with it. The Bible talks about, for the love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say for money is the root of all evil. It says for the love of money is the root of all evil. And I can see that. I see it in what we're talking about, because, and again, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I don't mind saying it. I think that money, for one reason or another, for one way or another, has contributed to the fall of the dynamic of family coming together during holidays. For one reason or other, whether it's cost because of airfare, because I know fares go up during the holiday seasons because they know that people got to travel, and so things become a premium. Whether it's the cost of gas, because again, it's a premium, or whatever. Everybody is capitalizing on the holidays. Yeah. Everybody's capitalizing, whether it's Black Friday now, like you said, Black Friday now begins in beginning of November. When, I remember I was shocked when Black Friday began on Thanksgiving. I remember when they first announced, I can't remember what store, it's probably Walmart, but I can't remember if it was that store or not, but that they were going to open at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. And I remember thinking to myself, what in the world? And now Black Friday begins in early November.
Yeah, and that created a new family tradition for my family for Thanksgiving. After dinner, the ladies, we would get together and we'd go shopping.
See, and that's messed up, because you should be at home talking.
We were having girl time.
But you should be at home talking with not just the ladies.
Watching football. So we done spent time with them. So, okay, we done ate. Y'all done got your stomach nice and full. You watching football. Okay, we'll see y'all in a couple hours. We're going to go do some shopping.
Okay. I'll give you that one.
Y'all wasn't checking for us.
Well, we weren't married at the time.
No, there was one. The first Thanksgiving I used to be with my family. We did go shopping, and
yeah, I did.
I guess things were okay for you.
Yeah, I think I left. We watched football and slept.
After all the big shebang bang.
Yeah, we watched football and slept. So yeah, but but do you see what I'm saying? Though, how I feel like money has curbed that desire for families to spend time together. Or like we're talking about. So you look at it from that side of it, of people going out to spend money, but then you look at it from that, somebody's got to work to do that.
Yeah.
And if they're working, they're not at home with family. So again, I was kind of laughing and joking about it earlier, but I do believe that the love of money is at the center of why families are not getting together during the holidays.
Yeah.
Like they used to be.
I do agree, because like you said, there's different things that impact that. Some families, it's cost. It can be expensive to travel during the holiday.
And it's not the family's fault.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
It's greed because things have gone up because it's a premium.
They know it's a holiday, right? But the other side of it is they have to increase the price because they've got to be able to pay these people overtime, employees overtime to work on the holiday. So
That's true.
do we want to shut down the airlines?
But I agree with you. But I bet you, I guarantee you, and again, it goes back to the point that I was making with the store. What is really your margin between 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.?
Mm-hmm.
What is really your margin on the day before Thanksgiving versus the 2 weeks? And not only that, but that customer, and again, because I like to think of things in small scale. So it would be too hard to think of it in a big scale of people flying. But when you think of it in just a small scale of that customer coming to the store for sugar because they forgot sugar, when you think of the small scale, what is the out of the 20 customers that are going to come for sugar between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., how many of them actually would have remembered to come the week prior to get their sugar if they knew the store was not going to be open on Thanksgiving?
I'd say about 75%.
75% of them would have remembered.
Yeah.
So you're really only 25. So when you think about that and you blow it up into the large scale of travel, if people knew the airlines were not going to be running on the day before Thanksgiving, then maybe they would make, 75% of those people that are waiting to the last minute to travel would probably travel earlier. So again,
and also, I mean, I've heard people say that do travel on the holiday. They're like, that's the best day to travel because it's like no one there.
Again, the margin.
Yeah.
Exactly. So again, the margin. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And so that's what I say. I think for the love of money, and it's funny how you think about when you. Because there's so many different ways I could go into that. But the love of money is and the Bible says it specifically, the root of all. It doesn't say just evil, the root of all evil.
Right. Yeah, that's very true.
That's kind of crazy when you think about it. The root of all evil. So that means all evil can be traced back to some sense of greed.
Yeah.
Cain and Abel. Greed for the jealousy and greed for the admiration of the father. So Cain kills Abel because he's jealous and he's greedy for the admiration of God. Wow.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Yeah. That is true.
So this is families have been getting further and further apart all the way since the beginning of time. I don't know, maybe. Is that a stretch?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I mean, everything that's happening now happened hundreds and thousands of years ago. It was just,
It's just more exasperated now because there's millions and millions more of us.
Yeah. Nothing that is happening in any family now.
That's true.
Is new.
It's new. That's true. I'll give you that one. So getting to things to be thankful for, because it is Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving season. So we don't want to just talk about the bad. We were talking about Christmas and so what growing up, kind of steering it back towards where we were talking about traveling for the holidays and all. What are some things that you were thankful that you got to experience with your family during the holidays?
So in terms of what I was most thankful for was really being able to travel and spend time with family on the holidays. In terms of Christmas, we would start the day at my grandmother and grandfather's house. And then during the course of the day, we'd go visit at different families' houses throughout that day, typically late afternoon, early evening. And, those are things that I remember to this day. So just to be able to have those memories, now because we have, lost some loved ones since that time. So just having those memories are things that I'm very thankful to have. And in present day, I'm just thankful for my family. I'm thankful for you, and I'm thankful for the girls and my parents and my sister. And, I'm just thankful for all of my family that I do get to see their memories with.
I know I'm even, like you said, a lot of our family, I don't say a lot, but several key members of our family have passed on now. I am very thankful for the time that I got to spend with them. It is tough, because again, you never think that those times will come to an end. Mm-hmm. You always think, oh, I have next year. Oh, I have next year. Oh, I have next year. And one day you don't have next year anymore. So I'm very thankful for those times and for those memories that I do have of going to grandma's house and spending time with my family. I used to love asking my mom, or not asking my mom, I used to love when my mom would let us spend the night over grandma's house when the family would come in for Christmas. We would actually go over grandma's house and spend the night over there, even though we lived 5 minutes away, because I didn't want to go home. I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to be with them. And so I'm very thankful that we did have those times, that I do have those memories of sleeping head to toe with my cousins and everything. I'm thankful for remembering the big tree in the living room that you could only go in during the holiday. You couldn't really spend time in the living room.
Right.
Any other time but the holidays, and getting to sit on the couches that you never got to sit on and so forth, to open presents. So I'm very thankful for those times. I didn't appreciate Thanksgiving food until I was older. I would have much rather have McDonald's.
I was the same way. When I was a kid, that was one thing I didn't look forward to the holidays, was I couldn't get a Happy Meal.
Yeah. I did not why?
Well, we got to have this food.
Yeah. Nobody wants this.
I want a McDonald's. But now, no, I take a regular home cooked meal in a heartbeat over McDonald's. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very thankful for those times and seeing and the conversations that I got to witness and be a part of. And so, yeah, I'm just thankful for those times. All right. So next coming up is our tip of the week.
Right. This week's tip of the week is create an email for your child or your children. And with that email, have a password, but don't give it to your child yet. You're going to create the email and you will send milestone pictures or special occasion pictures to that email for your child. And then when they have a milestone birthday, like maybe their 18th birthday, 21st birthday, they get married or have a child, you pass that email and password over to them, and then they access it and they have all these memories that you've gathered for them over the years.
That sounds pretty cool. So you have first birthdays and first going to kindergarten or going to school and just stuff like that. And then it's kind of like a time capsule almost. It'd be like a time capsule email.
Right. Yeah, because it'll have a date. And each in the subject line, you can put what it is. And if you have, if your child is 3 or 4 years old or older, you can still do it. Most of us have pictures saved on our phone from these times. So you can kind of go through your phone and maybe catch up a little bit and send a few and maybe include, what the special occasion is in the subject line and the date. And then just go from there and just start sending these emails.
That's a good idea. I just thought of it because I'm always having to go through and do a photo dump of my photos off of my phone or something. And so it's simple. If I'm doing something and I know this is a special moment, all I got to do is stop, send a quick email to that address, and I'm done with it.
Right. And the good thing about it is you and your spouse or your partner, significant other, you'll both, know what the email is. And, if Chris has some pictures or something special for the girls, he can send it and I can do it and vice versa. But I would strongly recommend creating, if you have multiple children, creating one for each child. So though, their brother or sister will be in those pictures with them, just have one for each of them. So, when that milestone comes up that you decide that you want to give this to them, each child will have their own to access. And I don't know about your kids, but my kids love looking at pictures on my phone. So I'm sure this will be a wonderful gift for them when the time is right.
Very cool. I like it. All right. So today we talked about the holidays. We talked about traveling during the holidays. We talked about family during the holidays and everything that involves. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've definitely enjoyed it. the best thing I can encourage you to do is spend time. Don't let money, don't let time, don't let things get in the way of spending time with family. As you heard us talk about several times during this, you never know what tomorrow holds. You never know when, you never know when the last time you will get to see a family member. So I encourage you, spend that time with your family. Make a point to go visit. Make a point to spend time, and just enjoy your family.
And also in terms of if you're able to, because I know, some of us, we live too far apart from our different families. But if, let's say, you do rotate the holiday and there is a family that you're not spending it with, maybe you could go visit them the day surrounding that holiday, or maybe even the week before. You can still have that time.
Yeah, make time. And then there's Zoom. There's Zoom, there's FaceTime. There's so many different ways now, that we can actually spend time with one another without actually being in each other's presence. I encourage you to use those times, use those resources that are available to you. Please, we would love to hear from you. We would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you're probably watching this on now, or we would also love for you to subscribe to our podcast on any of the primary platforms. We want your feedback. The goal of our podcast is not for us just to talk to you, but to talk with you. We want your feedback. We want to know, what are you thinking? We want to know, what are your thoughts about the things that we're talking about? The goal is to have a conversation. We want to have a conversation with you. So we hope that you will join us, like, subscribe, hit that notification button so that you can be notified when we drop new podcasts, and then make comments so we can hear from you.
And thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And as always, we never want to leave you without saying,
we love you, but God loves you most of all. And enough.